Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about taking string data and converting it into an array, specifically a character array. Now that may not make a lot of sense right now, but I'm hoping by the end of this video it will make a little bit more sense. You'll see that I'm on my Moodle page, and I'm going to just be talking for a few minutes about this method called toChar array and the char data type. So let's just start with the char data type. Char stands for character, it's short for character. So we have used ints, we have used string, doubles, floats in our programs, and as you know, those are different types of data. Okay, there's a new data type that we're going to look at, and we need to do this in order to understand what we're going to be doing with toChar array. So just indulge me for a few minutes while I talk about the char data type. Now, char, as I said, is short for character. It is a data type that holds one single character. Could be a letter, it could be a number, special character. Okay, for example, the value of a char variable could be any one character value, A, 4, or there's a pound sign in this example. Now, the difference between string and char data is that when you put the data into a variable, a char variable, you can't use double quotes. Let's take a look at this example that I have, this code example on Moodle. To create a variable which I called myChar, I started by using the char keyword, which sets up a character variable. I followed that with the name, myChar, the assignment operator, the equal sign, and the data itself. Now the data in this case is an X, the character X, and I surrounded X with single quotes, not double quotes. Okay, and of course we need our semicolon. Okay, so you have to use single quotes around a char character. Now in the next lab 5.3, we're going to be using a method called toChar array, which I talked about a few seconds ago. We're going to take a text string that we're going to get from our user when they open up our program. They're going to type in a quote or some kind of text string, and we're going to use this method to basically take that string and convert it into an array of characters and then manipulate it, basically by sorting it, reverse sorting it, and then displaying it backwards. Okay, so the reason that we do this, and again, it's not something that you really have to worry too much about. In our class, we don't worry too much about program efficiency. Okay, we are coding relatively simple programs that we're not worried about the performance. In the real world, though, however, performance does become an issue, particularly in game programming, because you want your program to be as efficient as possible, so it runs as fast as possible, among different platforms. So whether you're using it on an Xbox, whether you're using it on a PC or on a tablet, okay, PlayStation, it really counts. The program performance really counts. So programmers strive to be as efficient as they can in their coding. So the problem with strings is that even though we can create a string, for instance, I'm going to go to my Visual Studio program and I'm going to create a string and I'm going to give it a name, the variable. I'm going to create a string variable, I'm going to give it a name called greeting. I'm going to put hello world into it. Okay, and there we have our string. Greeting is going to contain hello world. So let's say in the next line I want to change greeting to something else. I want to put some different data in there. As you know, we're going to just we've already created the variable. We don't need to recreate it. We're just going to refer to it by its name and put the data in, put new data in there. And now maybe I'll just put hi world instead of hello world. Now, in reality, I mean, it seems to, when you look at it, you're thinking, okay, I created this greeting variable, and then I put something in it, and the next line I changed what was in greeting to something else. Now, but in reality, what's really happening is greeting itself isn't being changed at all. It's not able to be changed. What's happening is that a copy is being made of the string variable greeting. Now, to us, it's invisible because we're still referencing it by the same name. But what's actually happening is that there are pointers. There are things in memory that are pointing to other areas in memory. Okay, so basically it's almost like handing off the football to our runner. Okay, like our identical twin runner. And he's taking the ball to the end zone. Okay, but we can't tell the difference who's who. Okay, but in reality, if you use a lot of strings in your program, and you're constantly modifying them, you're actually not modifying strings. You're creating extra copies of them under the covers, okay, and they're staying in memory. So after a while, that sort of bogs down the performance of a program. Okay, so don't worry too much about that. That's just a little bit of background so you understand what's going on, why we would use something called 2-char array. Because I know a lot of students in the past will be like, why am I doing this? Again, it's just because we use these methods in real programming because strings are actually unchangeable. They're called, it's what they call immutable. They're not able to be changed. We just have to make copies of them. So that's invisible to us, but at a certain point, your program is going to become very inefficient. So I'm going to go back to my Visual Studio program. I'm going to get rid of this line, and I'm going to kind of walk you through the process of using 2-char array. So what I'm going to do is I created my variable, my string variable greeting has hello world in it. The next thing, maybe I'll just console write line it out. I'll just write console write line greeting just to display it. And I'm going to put a line in between. And then the next line I'm going to convert it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a char array, which is just like creating any other array. You use the data type, followed by the square brackets, followed by the name of the array. I'm just going to call it char array. And then I'm going to use my 2-char array. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Okay. Oops. And the 2-char array, the way you use it is in front of the 2-char array method, you're going to put the name of the variable name or the string itself. You could do it with a string by itself as well. I'm going to attach this variable greeting to the method by using the dot notation. I'm going to put the name of my variable first, and I'm going to put the dot second, and then I'm going to put the method name third. You can also do this as with an actual string if you wanted to do something like that. You could do something like this if you wanted to do that. If you wanted to do the string directly, that's okay too. Okay, you can actually do something like that. But we're going to use the variable that we created. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a for each loop to display it. And remember, when you create your loops, Visual Studio has a nice little feature where if you hit the tab button twice, it finishes up the syntax of your loop. Okay, so I'm going to need to specify the variable type, which in this case is a char. I'll just use item, and then I'm going to have to use the array name in my collection, which I called char array. Okay, between the curly braces, all I'm going to do is just simply display it. I'm going to display the item. Okay, that's our temporary bit of working storage that's going to allow us to display using the for each loop. So I'm going to run this program, and let's see what happens with it. Okay, you can see up here now, hello world was the original string. I did a console write line on greeting, and it just simply displayed what was inside that was stored in greeting. And then the next, in line 12, I used the 2-char array method to convert the string to an array, and then I used the for each loop to display it. You could see hello world. Okay, and because I used console write line, it did it on its own separate line. But you can see now this is just an array. Okay, and I can actually change things in the array. So I could do something like this. I can change an individual character of the array without actually having to create another copy. So maybe I'll change the fourth element, and I'll just give it a different letter. Maybe I'll give it an N. Okay, and remember I used a single quote because this is a char, a character, Okay, and then I'm going to just copy my for each loop again, and I'll display it out. Okay, and then maybe I'll just do another console write line. Just give it some space. Okay, so let me just run this again. And you can see that what I have here, the original string up here, the second one, hello world, and then my third one, you can see that the fourth element of L has been replaced with an N, hello world. So this proves that this is an array and not a string. Okay, so that's how I used the toChar array to convert my string, and then that way now I can treat it like an array. I can actually treat it like a true array. Okay, we can also do something. We can also reverse this as well by using our reverse.sort method. I'm sorry, I meant array.reverse. Okay, we could do that here. I'm going to do array.reverse, and I'm going to reverse the array, char array. I'm just going to reverse it, and then I'm going to do my for each loop again. And this time, do another space there. This time I'm going to use console write so you can see it on one line. Okay, and let's try to run this program. Okay, so you can see that here's our original string, hello world. Here's the second, and then here's my first for each after I converted it to an array. Then my second for each loop, which shows that I changed the fourth element from an L to an N. And then finally, after I did the reverse, the array.reverse, I actually did a console write, and then you could see that the whole thing has been reversed. Okay, so this should give you a little bit of insight as how to do the next lab. Okay, we're going to use this method to take in a piece of data from our user and then reverse it. Okay, just to remind you guys, okay, when we want to get data from a user, okay, we're going to need to place something inside of a variable. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is ask the user to put some data in. Okay, so we're going to use console write. Please enter something. Okay. Okay, and then we're going to place this into a variable. Okay, in this case, I'm going to just use a string. I'm going to call it input, and then I'm going to make that string equal to console readline. Console readline is going to take whatever they write in, and then it's going to place it into the variable, and then you can then see it. I'm going to just run this program. Okay, now I didn't put it. Well, you can see where I have it right here. I said, please enter something. Okay, and I'm going to enter some kind of code. And then, of course, when I display it, here it is. Hello there. That's how I get input data. Okay? Any questions? Please ask.